The third time I walked into HR, I already knew what was coming, but I did it anyway. I sat down across from Denise, same fake-friendly HR rep, with her hair twisted up in that tight little bun like she was too busy for air. She didn't even look up, just kept scribbling in that notebook like I wasn't even there. "I've brought this up twice already," I said. "My hours. I've been working overtime every single week. 49, 56, then 61 hours last week. And I haven't seen a cent for any of it." She sighed, tapped her pen, and said flatly, "It's not a priority right now. Not a priority." Like I was complaining about the coffee machine or something. I stared at her for a second, just trying to hold it in. My jaw was tight. I felt my fingers curl around the armrest of the chair, the fake leather creaking under my grip. "That's wage theft," I said. Denise didn't flinch, didn't even stop writing. I stood up slow, heart thudding in my chest. "So, what am I supposed to do?" She glanced up for half a second. "Talk to your manager." "I did," I said, 3 times. She said to take it up with HR. She went right back to her notebook, like I'd vanished into thin air. Quick note, before listening, share which city or country you're watching from. I walked out of that office shaking, not crying. I was too pissed off to cry. I was somewhere past anger, where the rage starts boiling cold instead of hot. I wasn't even mad about the money anymore. It was the part where no one gave a damn. That feeling where you know you're being screwed and everyone's just watching it happen, like it's normal. I kept thinking back to that week I clocked 61 hours. I'd missed my nephew's birthday party, skipped dinner with my mom, came home every night smelling like cardboard and warehouse dust. And not only was I not getting paid, I was being told to be grateful. Standing in that hallway outside HR, something in me shifted. Not snapped exactly, just cracked the way glass does before it shatters. Like whatever hope I'd had that this company gave a damn about people like me, it was gone. I walked back to the floor, head down, jaw clenched, already knowing what I was going to do next. Not quit, not complain, just watch, listen, and start keeping track. So I started watching. Not just HR, everything. And that's when I remembered how all this really started. A few months back, Michelle had swept into the warehouse like she owned the place. Fresh from corporate, all smiles, tight blazers, and PowerPoint energy. She called us into the break room one morning, all 20-something of us, and handed out what she called promotions. 7 of us got new titles. I was one of them. "Congratulations," she said, handing me a folder. "You're now a logistics supervisor, salary $54,500. She smiled like she was changing lives. At first I felt good, like finally someone noticed I worked my ass off. 54 grand sounded decent, but later that night, I pulled out my pay stubs and a calculator. I did the math. With all the overtime I'd been clocking as an hourly guy, time and a half after 40, I was already clearing around 51, and I still got weekends off most weeks, so this wasn't really a raise. It was 3 grand more on paper, but no overtime, no extra pay for holidays, and way more hours. The next morning, I knocked on Michelle's office door. She looked up from her laptop. "What's up?" "I wanted to ask if I could stay hourly," I said. "This new title, it's cool and all, but I'd rather keep the pay structure I had." Her smile tightened just a little. "Why would you want to give up a promotion?" "It's not really a raise," I said. With OT, I was making close to the same, sometimes more. She leaned back in her chair and gave me that corporate speech voice, the one they probably teach in management seminars. "This is an opportunity for growth, leadership, long-term advancement. I just don't want to get shorted," I said. "I'm not trying to be difficult." "You're not being shorted," she cut in. "This is the next step for you. Trust me." I didn't trust her, but I also didn't feel like I had a real choice. And that was the thing about Michelle. She always made it sound like everything was your decision, even when it wasn't. So I nodded and walked out of her office, feeling like I'd just agreed to something I didn't fully understand. At first, it didn't seem so bad. I was working maybe 45, 48 hours a week, no big deal. But about 3 weeks in, she added a Saturday shift. Then the next week, Sunday too. And suddenly, I was pulling 55, sometimes 60, without a single dollar extra. I brought it up once, real casual. "Hey, am I still supposed to be working weekends? I thought this was more of a weekday role." She just said, "That's the nature of leadership. We go where the need is." It was like talking to a brick wall wrapped in buzzwords. Then came the emails. Need coverage this Saturday. Thanks in advance. Like it was already assumed. Like my time wasn't mine anymore. After a couple months, I looked around and saw it wasn't just me. All 7 of us who got promoted were working longer hours than ever. 2 of them had stopped eating lunch just to keep up. One guy, Luis, started showing up with his eyes bloodshot and hands shaking from too much gas station coffee. That's when it hit me. This wasn't a reward. This was a cost-cutting move. Michelle didn't promote us because we earned it. She promoted us because taking away overtime and slapping a fancy title on it saved the company money. And I was the idiot who signed off on it. But now I knew what I was dealing with. So I started logging everything. Every shift, every unpaid weekend, every time Michelle said something like, "We appreciate your dedication," or "You should feel proud to be trusted like this." I wasn't writing it down at work. I wasn't that stupid. I kept a spreadsheet at home, hidden behind a fake file name. Appliance receipts 2021. I tracked the exact hours I worked versus what I got paid. It didn't take long to see the pattern, and the original 7 of us weren't the only ones feeling it. I started having quiet talks with the others who'd been promoted, one by one, out in the lot, in the break room, over smokes behind the loading docks. I didn't push, just asked how things were going, and every single one of them told me the same story, same job title, same salaried shift, same creeping schedule, no overtime, no bonus, no time off, just more work for the same check. Luis, the guy always chugging energy drinks, told me, "I worked 63 hours last week. No one even said thanks." Cassie, who used to clock out at 4 on the dot, now stayed until 6 or later. "I don't even pick my kids up from school anymore," she said. "It's like I signed my life away for a title that means nothing." We were all trapped in the same little scheme, but no one wanted to be the first one to raise hell. Everyone was scared. So was I, honestly. Then one day, I was grabbing a printout in the admin wing, just a shipping manifest, and a guy from accounting I barely knew made a throwaway comment that flipped the switch in my head. He said, "Michelle's crushing it this quarter. 35% drop in labor costs. No wonder she got that bonus." I blinked. "What bonus?" He gave me this look like I lived under a rock. 6 figures, dude. She made more in bonuses than her base salary this year. And that was it, right there. It all made sense. This wasn't about leadership or career growth. It was about payroll, about numbers. Michelle slashed labor costs by reclassifying us, cut overtime without firing anyone, and the company rewarded her like she reinvented the wheel. We weren't promoted. We were gutted and gift-wrapped. That night, I sat at my kitchen table with my laptop open and started digging. Labor law sites, government pages, forums, anything I could find about salaried versus hourly, exempt versus non-exempt. I read until 2 in the morning, cross-checked everything, highlighted rules, saved screenshots, and what I saw made my stomach turn. To legally call someone exempt, meaning no overtime, your job has to involve things like managing a team, making financial decisions, hiring and firing, overseeing budgets. None of that applied to me. I moved freight, I tracked inventory, I updated spreadsheets. Sometimes I'd train new hires for half a day, but I didn't supervise anyone. I didn't create schedules. I didn't even have authority to approve PTO. I was a glorified lead worker with a fancy title and 0 real power. And it wasn't just me. I called Luis and asked what he actually did day to day. Same stuff. Cassie too. Inventory, reports, floor coverage, no budget control, no hiring power, no team leadership. This whole thing was a scam. Michelle used reclassification to make her numbers look good, then cashed in while we worked nights and weekends for free. I wasn't just pissed anymore. I felt played, used, and now I had proof. I printed everything. Job descriptions, labor law definitions, copies of my hours, even screen grabs from the Department of Labor's site. I organized it in a folder, labeled each section. I wasn't going in to rant, I was going in to prove. I scheduled the meeting with Denise through Outlook, so she couldn't dodge it. Tuesday morning, 9 a.m. When I walked into her office, she looked up like she didn't remember who I was. Like the same guy who stood there 2 months ago, begging for his paycheck, didn't exist. "I want to walk you through something," I said, sitting down and opening the folder. "I've been reclassified as salaried, but under federal law, my duties don't meet the exemption." She blinked once, then gave me that tight HR smile. You have autonomy in your role. You exercise independent judgment. I decide which pallets get unloaded first, I said. That's not judgment. That's common sense. You organize the workday, correct? For myself, because no one else is doing it. Exactly, she said, like she just won something. That shows initiative, decision-making capacity. Come on, I said, slapping the folder shut. You know what this is? Denise didn't flinch, just said, if you feel strongly, you're welcome to file a complaint externally. So I stood up, walked out, folder still in hand. She hadn't even flipped past the first page. Couple weeks later, I tried again. I updated the docs, added time logs from Bassi and Luis. They gave me permission, printed out our pay history, made it airtight. I caught her as she was walking out of the break room, asked if she had 10 minutes. She said yes. We sat in her office again, same stiff chairs, same neutral expression on her face. I laid it all out. I walked her through everything. I didn't raise my voice, didn't accuse. I just showed her, step by step. She tapped her pen twice on the desk and said, I understand where you're coming from. Then, what's the next step? I asked. She hesitated for just a second. It's not a priority right now. That was it. That's what she said. Not, we'll look into it. Not, I'll bring it to legal. Not, let me follow up. Just a polite corporate wall built out of those 5 words. I didn't argue. I didn't even respond. I just stood up, grabbed my folder, and walked out without looking back. I was done asking nicely. I went straight home after that second meeting and didn't even take off my boots. Just dropped my folder on the kitchen table, opened my laptop, and pulled up the state labor website. The complaint form was long, stupid long, like they designed it to wear you down before you even got through it. But I wasn't quitting. Not this time. I started from the top. Employer name, my full info, job title, base salary. Then I listed every week I'd worked more than 40 hours since the day Michelle handed me that stupid folder with logistics supervisor on the front. I pulled out my hidden spreadsheet and filled in every detail. It took hours. I wasn't guessing. I had numbers. I attached my logs, backed them up with 2 pay stubs from before the reclassification to show the difference. Then I listed the names of the other 6 people who'd been promoted. I didn't speak for them, just said they had had similar schedules, same title, same structure. I kept it factual. Then I got to the section about why I believe the misclassification was intentional. I wrote, Michelle received a performance bonus tied to department cost reductions. The only change implemented during that period was the reclassification of hourly employees to salaried positions. Over time, hours continued but were unpaid. She profited from our unpaid time. That sentence sat there on the screen for a solid minute. I read it 3 times before I moved on. At 2:07 a.m., I hit submit. The confirmation screen popped up. Case number. Thank you for your submission. And then, nothing. Just silence. My apartment was dead quiet, and I sat there staring at the screen, wondering if I'd just thrown away everything. Next morning, I went to work like normal. No one said anything. No weird looks. No HR waiting by the door. Same old routine. Day 2, nothing. By day 4, I started thinking maybe I screwed up. Maybe it didn't go anywhere. Maybe they got the complaint and tossed it in the trash like everything else. Then Thursday morning, around 10, Michelle's assistant, this intern-looking girl named Stephanie, came running through the warehouse like she was on fire. "Where's Denise?" she yelled. "State inspectors are here." And just like that, the whole building flipped. Phones started ringing. Doors slammed. People came out of offices whispering like the FBI just kicked down the front door. I didn't say a word. Just grabbed a clipboard and went back to checking the shipment from Dock 3. But inside, I was wide awake. By the time I finished checking the shipment, the suits were already in the building. 2 men, 1 woman, all carrying clipboards, badges on their belts, no company logos. Just that calm authority that says we don't need to explain anything to anyone. They didn't stop at reception. They walked straight past the break room, past the floor, straight into payroll. No warning, no heads up. Just in. Like a raid. I stayed on the floor, moved boxes, logged stock, scanned barcodes. Pretended it was a normal Thursday, but it wasn't. You could feel it. The energy shifted. Managers stopped talking loud. HR's office door opened and closed 5 times in 10 minutes. People stared at their monitors like They were trying to remember every keystroke they'd made that month. Even Michelle's little whiteboard with her weekly motivator quote stayed blank. Around lunchtime, Denise found me. I was at the printer, picking up shipping labels. She stepped right into my path. "Why didn't you tell us?" she asked. Her voice was low, like she didn't want anyone else to hear it. She looked different, pale, wrinkled forehead, like she hadn't slept. I stared at her for a second, then said, "I did, 3 times. She opened her mouth, then shut it again. I took one step forward. "You just didn't listen." And I walked past her, didn't stop, didn't turn around. If she had more to say, I didn't care. The rest of that week felt like working inside a pressure cooker. You could see investigators walking in and out of offices, holding folders, laptops open. They asked to speak with each of us, not group interviews one by one. Every salaried supervisor was pulled aside. When it was my turn, I got called into a conference room. One of the inspectors, a woman named Marcy, did most of the talking. "Walk us through your job duties," she said. So I did. No fluff, no exaggeration, just facts. I told her I moved freight, tracked inventory, fixed barcode issues, trained new hires maybe once every few weeks, but had no authority over schedules, no control over budget, didn't manage anyone. She asked questions, took notes, asked for examples, then asked if I had documentation. I handed over the same folder I'd taken to Denise. She flipped through it silently, nodded once. "This helps." They didn't say much else, no promises, no reaction, just calm, methodical, professional. Over the next few weeks, they kept showing up. Not every day, just enough to keep people on edge. Michelle stopped walking the floor altogether. Her heels used to echo through the warehouse at least once a day. Now, nothing. Her blinds were closed. Her door stayed shut. Her name never showed up in the morning emails anymore. It was like she vanished behind that door and hoped we'd all forget she existed. But no one forgot. We were just waiting, and she knew it. 6 weeks after the inspectors first walked through payroll, HR called a department-wide meeting. No email explanation, just a calendar invite with a time and room number, mandatory. We filed in one by one, the 7 of us who got promoted, plus a few others who'd been quietly reclassified later on. No small talk, no jokes, just the sound of chairs scraping tile. Legal was there. Some guy in a gray suit with slicked back hair and a manila folder he didn't bother opening. "Thank you all for coming," he said, straight to business. "We're here to inform you the state concluded its investigation into recent wage classification issues. A couple people shifted in their chairs. I didn't move. The findings confirmed misclassification," he said. "The company is issuing full back pay to all affected employees. Details will be provided individually along with breakdowns. No apology. No, we messed up. Just facts." But I didn't need them to say sorry. I just wanted the numbers right. Denise stood in the corner, arms crossed, eyes locked on the floor. She didn't say a word. The meeting lasted maybe 10 minutes. Then we were dismissed like school kids after an awkward assembly. No clapping, no smiling, just this heavy, quiet relief sitting in the air. 2 days later, I got an envelope in my locker, white, sealed, thick. Inside was a letter and a check, $17,960. I read the number 3 times just to make sure I hadn't hallucinated it. Nearly 8 months of unpaid hours. Finally in my hands, Cassie texted me that afternoon. And 17th Fighter 120, Luis, 18th 300. We didn't celebrate. No beers after work, no high fives in the parking lot. We just exhaled, like we'd been holding our breaths in spring and finally got air again. 3 days after that, Michelle's office was cleared out. Nobody told us she was gone, but when I walked by on my lunch break, her nameplate was missing. The blinds were still closed, but you could see the desk inside. Empty. Her chair gone. Cabinets cleared, like someone vacuumed her out of existence. By the next morning, word was spreading. Legal action. She wasn't just let go. She was being held liable. That bonus she bragged about, the state clawed it back. 120 grand, give or take. Some said she cried when they handed her the letter. Others said she tried to fight it. I didn't care either way. What mattered was she didn't get to walk away clean. The following Monday, they introduced Tomasa, new supervisor, sharp voice, no clipboard full of buzzwords. She wore jeans and boots, same as the rest of us. First thing she did was call a meeting right there on the warehouse floor. No chairs, no donuts, just business. Effective immediately, she said, hands in her pockets. Everyone's back on hourly. Every minute you work will be paid. That was it. No speech, no fake smiles, just the truth, straight and solid. People looked around, a few nodded. Cassie actually smiled. Luis let out this breath like he'd been holding it for months. No one cheered, but you could feel it. Something heavy finally let go. We went back to work like normal, but everything felt different. The tension was gone. No more second-guessing every shift. No more dragging your feet past Michelle's door, wondering if today was the day they'd try to spin it all back around. A few weeks later, Denise was gone. No goodbye email, no HR announcement. Just an empty office with her name taken off the door. Someone else moved in like nothing happened. I still work here, still pull pallets, still scan boxes, check inventory, fix mistakes from overnight shift. I still stay late when it's busy. But now, when I stay late, I get paid. When I hit 50 hours, I see it on my check the following Friday. No arguments, no excuses. Michelle's old office? Still there. They turned it into a supply closet. Every time I walk past it, I see a stack of toilet paper where her designer chair used to sit. And every time, I remember what she tried to do, how she looked us in the face and stole our time like it didn't matter. They owed us $340,000 total. Every cent got paid back, all because one guy decided he'd had enough.